All right, so thanks for being here today. Really appreciate you coming out. We are looking forward to getting the season started Friday night in the woodshed. Really appreciate our fans, our students. Guys are preparing hard. We had a Tuesday type practice today, so we're well into our preparation for Western. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
And I was wondering where you're at with the kicker situation, with adding Ben, and kind of what you think of those guys in that room overall heading into the opener.
Yeah, they did a good job today at the end of practice, so we'll make a decision at some point, but I feel good about it.
You know, you guys had you said you were going to do kind of a little walkthrough on Friday. Did you end up doing that kind of like a mock game sort of environment? And what do the guys get from that when they haven't been out there maybe for a year to try and replicate everything in their mind again?
Yeah, we had a fast Friday type practice, so we did go fast, and then we shifted to the mock game. It was just basically going through our kind of our routine. When we get to the stadium, and then how we go out for warm-ups, and how do we flex, and where we go in our position groups for pregame warm-up and things like that. How we handle like the one-on-one, the 7-on-7, the team periods pregame, and then how we come out of the tunnel, and then we did some scenarios, some situational things, just talking through offense, defense, and special teams. How we come out for halftime and things like that.
Hey Mel, I know we've joked about it with Peyton a little bit, but is there anything to that about him sort of being able to help you guys a little bit, just with a first-year coordinator, obviously his dad? Is that something where him and Scotty sit down in the summer and have lunch or something, or is he helping you guys out in defensive meetings, or defensive meetings, anything like that this week at all?
No.
Mel, I'm just obviously this is now the third year. I feel like every year there's a little different kind of feeling. The first year was obviously a little bit different. And going into the second year, no one really knew much, but now the expectations feel like they've been ramped up so much after the way last year went. Do you sense a different feel from these guys? Like there's, what I mean? There's not an unknown. Now they know, hey, we've gotten to this point, and now we expect to be at a certain point. Do you sense that from them going into
From our players?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's the expectations from the outside have really ramped up, so to speak. And, like we're ranked going into the season, and there's an expectation for us, to be a good football team and things like that, and to be able to win games where, a year ago we weren't ranked. We were picked to be one of the worst, 5 teams in the country and things like that. So it's really the external expectations, I think, have shifted.
But you don't see that really affect the guys that much based on what those external expectations are?
Well, it's really, we have standards, and we have, expectations for ourselves, and they're high, and that hasn't changed.
Now that you're heading into game week, where do you see the biggest growth from Peyton?
Really leadership, really not just leading by example, but being more vocal with his teammates, not just on the offense, but the defense as well. He's really grown in that regard, and I'm really proud of him.
Wondering the importance of winning at home. I mean, yesterday, I think you guys put on your Twitter page something along the lines of how you guys didn't lose a game last year in the woodshed. And so how much emphasis you're putting on that this week as you head into this game against Western? Yeah, winning at home is important. We appreciate our fans. Our home, the woodshed should be an advantage for us, and it is. And it's important that we play well at home. And so we were undefeated at home a year ago. That was a goal of ours, to protect our home. And that's always going to be the goal for us, is to play well at home and to win at home every game that we play at home.
Mel, who's returning kickoffs and punts for you, and do you have any reservations at all about using Jaden there with all the things he has to do on offense?
Yep, we'll just have to see. We got quite a few guys that can do it. but we don't have any reservations about putting guys back there. We're going to put the best players back there to get the most production and to give us the best chance to have a chance to get the job done.
After last year, you came in with a lot of different changes, a lot of different, I guess, players, things that people from the outside didn't see. What did you learn from that? Do you have to go into a game, one in particular, kind of keeping things quiet and keeping things close to the vest for changes you make, for whatever other reason there might be injuries or growth? I mean, do you consciously think about that this week? I'm not letting too much out.
Well, I mean, we don't want to help our opponents, and I try to answer the question as best that I can, but I'm always going to do what's best for the green and white.
Mel, a year ago around this time, I don't think you told us directly, but you told your team, coming out of camp, going into that Northwestern game, that something along the lines of there's championship talent here, maybe not championship depth. More of the story, it seemed like you sort of had a very strong feel for what that team was, and then we saw what happened. I'm just wondering, a year later, coming out of camp, going into game one, do you have a good grasp of maybe what this team is all about or what their capabilities are and whatnot, similar to that a year ago?
Yeah, right now we're just focused on stacking days. Again, we've already stated what our goals are for the season, and we're just stacking days. I mean, we have a process that we go through throughout the week, so it was a Tuesday type practice for us, which was full pads, and it was a physical practice, and we competed. We did mostly scout work, but we did have a couple good on good periods, which we're going to go and grade the film. But it's really right now. So we have one game. We have a one game focus. We have one game on our schedule, and we're working to stack days in preparation that we can go out there and put our best foot forward and have a chance to win the football game.
Mel, not to tip anyone off, but you had a meal ticket in the backfield last year in Walker. Do you anticipate one of these two guys, Berger or Broussard, being the lead back, or are you comfortable with running back by committee, or where does that stand?
We'll just have to see. I mean, it's going to take all of us. It's going to take the offensive line, the tight ends, the runners, the wide receivers blocking. We have good scheme. We're going to have to, Peyton's going to have to make sure we get in and out of the right plays and things like that, and we're going to have to play complementary football. Offense and defense and special teams working together, but we have to be able to run the ball on our terms and have balance on offense.
Kind of back to what I was asking a little bit about, when it comes to a week one game plan, when there is, and not just for you, but obviously Western has a new coordinator and there are things that aren't there. How do you as the coach approach that? When you kind of alluded to it a little bit last week that it's a rules game, but when you get into game week, what does that rules game mean?
Well, we have to practice some plays, that we think they may run or that they have shown, and you got a couple different programs that we've been studying, and so we have to pick and choose which plays we're going to run and things like that will maybe resemble what we might see in the game, but we don't know for sure what we're going to see.
Do you do a lot of scouting on North Central? I mean, do you have to do that?
Yes, you have to do that. Yep, you have to do that, and then Western and you have to go back years, things like that to try to get the best picture, and then you have to decide. So here are the plays we're going to present to the players, to run in practice with our scout teams and things like that. But you have to coach in concepts, so because we don't know what we're going to see, from them, for sure. We don't know. We're going to have to be able to adjust, and adapt during the game and do a really good job, identifying what we're seeing, have really good communication on the staff, from the box, and then communicate with the players and be able to make adjustments, to what we see out there. But, when you teach in concepts, the players should be able to unwind anything that they see out there and apply the rule, like for example, if it's a coverage, maybe there's a look that a play that we haven't seen or before. It might be something, maybe they got it from another school and it worked well, and they might have got it from an NFL team, And so within that coverage, the coverage says if this, then you do this. There's 5 eligibles out there and things like that. You got 2x2, 3x1, empty, 2 back, 1 back, all those deals. So those plays fit into some type of category, and then you apply the rule that you have for that coverage or that front or that blitz, that pressure. You apply the rule to that category of plays, and that's what makes it a rules game.
Mel, how would you best describe the build-up to this week and to Friday in terms of the energy in the building right now and conversations that players might be having? We know the goals, you've stated the goals, but just maybe some more little things that people are talking about inside the building right now.
Inside the building, yeah. So that's a great question. So we're building our fight every day, and when I talk about stacking days, we have a Monday type of practice, we have a Tuesday type practice, then we have a Wednesday type practice, then we have like a no sweat Thursday, then we have a fast Friday type practice, then we play. Every day there's a different point of emphasis. Maybe you're going first and second down, and then you move into maybe the third down or, red zone, short yardage, by day, and then you try to put it all together, at the end. And so, there's guys watching extra film, like on their own. They're watching it with each other, being very intentional with the focus on what are they studying, and maybe they're studying the players, the opponents, like mannerisms, and really studying in great detail, and so the players are talking about that amongst themselves, and so holding each other accountable is a big deal, like during the week in preparation, like. Making sure everyone's doing what they're supposed to do in preparation for the game. You hold yourself accountable, you hold your teammates accountable, and making sure that, we're keeping the train on the tracks and we're staying focused on the task at hand, like we have one game. So you got, older guys, more veteran guys who get it and understand, hey, listen, we've got one game. Yeah, we're playing at home. It's the first game of the season. But listen, it's Tuesday, so we got to focus on Tuesday. Be where your feet are. We're not going to look too far ahead. We know when the game is. We know the date, the kickoff time, so we know that. But what do we have to get done today? And that includes rest and recovery. That includes like nutrition, treatment, film study, things like that. And guys, keeping each other focused on the task at hand, and that's really what we're talking about. School starts tomorrow, and so we're going to have a higher level of focus, because that's another variable, and you always want to eliminate distractions. But we practice in the morning, so we should be able to mitigate some of those distractions with that. But it's a collective effort. Everyone has a role to play in preparation. You got the scout team guys, you got the first and second team, you got guys that are going back and forth, and so whatever that role is, you got to do your job in practice. If you're on the scout team, you got to give us a great look. If you're on the first and second team, make sure you study the opponent, make sure the scout team is giving you the right look. If the guy's not running the route properly, you got to tell the guy that's not how they run it. That's not what they've seen that's not what they've shown on tape. You got to run it like this. So it's this intensity of the preparation is really what the key to the deal is. Everything else is just noise. For us, everything else is just noise. Again, we appreciate our fans. We appreciate our student section. We like, obviously guys are looking forward to playing because we've been practicing against each other this whole time, but we can't get ahead of ourselves because we have to be ready to play a great football game, 60 minutes, one play at a time, 6 seconds of play, and staying neutral and always playing the next play. And we have to practice that way. So everything we're talking about in the building are those things. talking about anything else because there's nothing else. There's nothing else that we can control. Only thing we can control is our behavior. How we behave, our actions on a day-to-day basis, which are a result of the choices and decisions that we make, and those things create the outcomes. And so that's the chatter, that's the talk. All the other stuff is just really noise for us right now.
Mel, is this week where Peyton is in a kind of a unique position of his dad being over there? Is it a challenge for him at all, or is he the kind of guy that's been around enough and is focused enough where maybe that doesn't affect him at all this week, do you think? I
talked to him about it yesterday. We had a long talk about it and other things. And so, I don't think he's been in this situation before. So, he says that it's not a distraction for him, and so, but I mean, it's a human performance business, so that's his dad, right? So, so we have to, address it, and talk about it, and then, how are we going to handle it? And we talk about that in detail, and we're going to continue to talk about that just like we would anything else, because and I believe, discipline is 85% anticipation. And discipline is doing what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it, the way you're supposed to do it, and understand why it's important to do it that way. So for him to have a disciplined football game and to prepare with discipline, we have to anticipate these things and say, okay, well, here are some of the scenarios, here are some situations, here are some of the feelings that you might have. So how are we going to handle those things? Okay, and what's our process for that, and how are we going to think? Mental conditioning. So we address that, and we're addressing other things with guys as well. There's some guys, it's their first game, in the woodshed. So we need to address that.
And Mel, right over here. I was wondering, you're 20 practices or so into the fall, what you thought, or what you've seen from the offensive line, particularly the younger guys that, haven't played in the game, and they're obviously going to have to be part of the mix this year. Yeah,
so, Coach Cap is relentlessly and ruthlessly coaching those guys. So I see improvement from those guys. I see them developing, and being able to play with the conditioning that we need to have as a base, so we can compete hard and for 60 minutes. And know what to do and play with the edge that we need, and strain, move people in the run game, sustain, and get the job done in the pass game and play hard. So I see guys, developing and being coached really hard and with, very high standards. And, for our whole program, we talk about it all the time. It's standards over feelings. Standard over feelings, and it's so when we're in the meeting room, when we're on the field, it doesn't matter who it is. There's a standard of performance, and we don't care how you feel. It's just a matter of how we have to get these things done. You can't be offended, when you're being coached up. And I see a very coachable group, which is good to see. It's really good to see. That's how you have a chance to get better. Give us a chance to to reach our full potential. Out there. But hey, we're expecting, like I told these guys today, I said, listen, and we told them yesterday, look, we are going to, whatever we've seen on film from these guys, like we're watching the film, and whatever we've seen, like from their personnel, their film, they're going to be better than that. They're going to be way better than that. They're going to be more intense than that. They're going to be stronger than that. They're going to be faster than that. They're going to be more physical than that. So, that's our focus is so we're expecting, we have to play our fannies off is that's our preparation, that's our mindset to go out there and so we're like practicing, we're not really thinking about all this other stuff, and so like with the offensive line, like we're trying to get their pads down lower. And move people more and be more physical and finish more plays and strain more and run and chase the ball and play through the echo of the whistle. That's what we're working to get out of those guys. Because if you can do that in practice, then we can get it. We can do it in the game. We're trying to make our practices harder than what we anticipate the game's going to be, which is that's a high bar, that's a high standard. So we're really we're hunkered down in there, and we're in the weeds. right now.
With the growth, here, we've heard about the growth of Peyton Thorne. As a head coach, how reassuring is it to have a guy like that, a leader like that, back, just with the experience that he does have already?
You know what, you can't win if you don't have a good quarterback. And so, we're very fortunate to have him and have him back and have him as our leader. And he's grown tremendously, and he's grown into the role of a leader, and he's developed as a good player. And so that's what you need. Your quarterback has to be your number one competitor. Bar none. I mean, it can't be any discrepancy about that. And so he is that. There's no one that's going to outcompete him. And he cares. And he's leading, not just, leading by example is not really leading. That's just the cost of admission. That's just doing your job. But, he actually has influence, over his teammates. And I trust him, and the coaches do. So, I mean, to have a guy like that to be your leader and it is a good thing. It's a very good thing. And if you don't have a guy like that, it makes it hard to even win any game, anytime.
Hey, Mel, over to your left. Two-parter, I guess. In terms of game day operation, any changes this year for you and with the coaches in terms of...
For me?
In terms of who's upstairs, who's on the sideline, things like that?
Yeah, we'll have to see about that. I mean, we have a process, and, there's rules about who can be on the headsets and who can be up, who can be down, and all that stuff. So, but there's nothing, there's no real news there.
And then you talked about continuity of the staff and the importance of that earlier in camp and speed of trust, et cetera. I'm wondering, where do you think that hopefully, in your mind, shows up on the field when the lights come on?
Well, it's important that the players don't see anything different from us than they see every day in practice.
How do you think it helps to have that continuity?
Well, just from an operations standpoint, guys know what their role is on game day, and what the expectations are, in terms of the communication and our demeanor and our behavior, pre-game, halftime, during the game, on the sideline, you how we coach our players, how we make adjustments, when do you allowed to talk and when are you not, you can't have chaos on the headsets. You can't have, a guy that thinks he's Brent Musburger and he's going to commentate the game, while the game's being played, and the coordinator can't make the call and can't get the down and distance, can't get the hash, can't get the personnel because this guy, he's out of his mind, watching the game. We've all had some. We've all had some. We've all had our Brent Musburger moments, stuff happens and guys like, oh my God, look, he's wide open. We don't need that right now. Give us the down and distance, give us the hash, give us the personnel so we can make the call. Next play,
Were you guilty of that too at times?
Never. Calm, cool, and collected, just like I am in the press conferences.
Well, Mel, man, I feel like it's hard to follow this up, but I wanted to ask, a little bit about your relationship, with Scotty Hazelton. I know, he came in here 2.5 years ago, real kind of odd circumstances in terms of he was the last member of your staff that you hired at the time, and I know you guys had never worked together before. So what has it been like these last 2.5 years getting to know him and work with him?
Yep, it's always good to hear that southern drawl a little bit.
Well, thank you. Tom Izzo had to comment on it too, so I just feel like all the coaches need to denote it at some point.
No doubt. Scotty's a great football coach, and he's a great man, and he's a good staff guy. He's a good colleague. He's a good teammate. And he cares, about the players and about his staff. The guys around him, the support staff. He treats everyone like $1 million. And regardless of what your title is and things like that, and he's a hard worker. He's a bootstrapping guy. He believes in roll your sleeves up, hard work. He's attention to detail. No stone unturned type guy. He brings a tremendous amount of energy, like every single day. And he lives and dies with the players. And that's and he's smart. The guys like his intelligence is like through the roof, and he works, and he's humble and hardworking, with that. So, I mean, he's a good teacher, and the guy has a lot of experience. I mean, and in this game, in order to I think to be able to coach at a high level, you have to have your butt kicked a few times, and so you have experience, like we've all had, on the staff when you've been places and you've been on different staffs and you've seen a lot of stuff, college and pro, whatever. You've had your butt handed to you a couple times, and then you have some success. It puts you in a position to be able to coach these young guys, and through everything, and be able to lead, and that's what he is. He's a leader.
Wanted to kind of pick, what you've seen about Western on tape, particularly two guys. The quarterback, Salopek, there's a couple games he got in, obviously at the Pitt game a little bit, and then also Ladarius Jefferson, who's been in this building and played here, and what that means for maybe a mid-level team coming in to try and pull an upset.
I don't want to put words in their mouth. I don't know what they're thinking. Just my experience. But my experience tells me in games like this game has been circled on their schedule for quite some time. And whatever we've seen from them on tape, they're going to be better than that. And they're absolutely, their belief factor is like through the roof right now. Their coaching staff has those guys, ready, prepared, and believing that they can come in here and beat us. So that's what we're preparing for. And we've got coaches and we've got players and we have work to do but that's what we're anticipating. That's just what it's going to be. So we know that and that's why we have to stay focused on what we got to get done today. We can't be thinking about Friday night right now on a Tuesday and say, but it's a Monday, but this is a Tuesday for us, right? But we know, and that's why we have to continue to build our fight, so that we can start fast and so that we can play relentless, Michigan State football for 60 minutes, in the game, play in and play out, 6 seconds of play. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming out. We'll see you next time. Really appreciate you. Thank you.